Order, how are you?
Oh, great, Judge. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. And
Reset January the 2nd, 2025.
okay, broke the barrier. Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we're going to begin with our misdemeanor calendar with the State Court of Fulton County. These are a list of new misdemeanor cases, individuals who were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being arrested, their cases were formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your case, I will let you know what's your case number, who's going to be your appointed counsel, to set a bond, what are the charges brought against you, and to set a bond for those charges, and also, if relevant, to give you a new court date. Please remember that if you are charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses in Fulton County, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court about the facts or circumstances of your case, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one would be appointed to represent you. Now, if you are not an attorney, if you are a victim or a witness or someone here in support of a defendant, please switch off your video and mute your screen. You may come on the Zoom when the person whom we are addressing is one that you want to contribute to the proceeding. Courtroom 2, who do we have first?
This is position number 4, Mr. Cox.
Will be no crossing Mr. Cox's charges, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if you'd like, we could have a breakout with the public defender.
Are we going to release him after this null cross?
I believe so. I don't think there's anything else holding him.
All right. Mr. Brandon Cox, your case has been dismissed. The state's not going to move forward, and you'll be released within 24 hours. Thank you.
And I just want to confirm that no cross will be filed today.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be sending it to Miss Bridgewater.
Yes, that would be correct. Thank you.
Mrs. Kelly Cox, our advocate,
Yes.
Iman Cheney, is going to reach out to you with
Yes.
contact information so that we can communicate with you and your son, okay?
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Free to go, Ms. Cox. Next case, please.
Next, we will go to position number 1, Ms. Baker.
This is State versus Lacha Baker, accused of theft by shoplifting under case number 24 CR 81938. Ms. Baker, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Pinto. I understand this is a 43rd arrest cycle. Does she have any open shoplifting?
I don't know about any open shoplifting. She got a couple of probations from this year. She got a 2024 shoplifting arrest. I'm sorry.
Okay.
2023 theft by conversion appears open.
Thank you. Ms. Mokeke, what's the recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. And the state's recommendation for Miss Baker is a $1,000 surety bond. That is the bond that she currently has. We ask that it just remain the same. Stay away from all Victoria's Secret stores. The incident occurred on the 31st, where she was accused of stealing multiple items from Victoria's Secret, amounting to $234.90. She also has some FTAs in her history, as well as some theft by shoplifting convictions from the early 2000s.
Right. Ms. Pinto?
Thank you, Judge. Miss Baker's 37 years old. She was transported directly to Fulton County from prison. She did 90 days plus 1 month in Gwinnett for a probation violation. Mm-hmm. So she's been in continuous custody for over 4 months. This case, or this incident, is alleged to have happened in January of this year. She has strong ties to the community. She's lived in Georgia her whole life. Her whole family is here in Georgia. She did some college studying business technology and administration and also cosmetology. She did have a good job working at a barber shop before her arrest in Athens. She's from the Athens area. She does have $1,000 bond, which she cannot afford, given that she is coming off of 4 months of incarceration. So we would ask the court to set a signature bond for Miss Baker.
You said she's employed and has ties in the community?
Yes, her whole family lives in Georgia. She's been in Georgia her whole life. And she had a good job at a barber shop in Athens, Georgia, prior to her arrest.
Ms. Baker, I've read the warrant, and given the numerous arrest cycles and your probation violations and your FTAs, unfortunately, you do not qualify for a signature bond. I'm going to keep the same bond. It's $1,000 surety bond. Your next court date is going to be January 2nd, 2025 at 9 a.m. That's also going to be a virtual proceeding. In the event that you do make bond between now and January 2nd, then you will need to require, and you are released if you have no other holds, then you're required to maintain a current address, and we will send you summons for your next court date. You are to stay away from all Victoria's Secret stores, including the one at North Point Mall, and you have to stay away from the entire North Point Mall complex. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. And we'll see you on January 2nd unless you bond out. Thank you.
What was that amount? Sorry, Your Honor.
1,000 surety.
Okay. Next, we go to position number 10, Mr. Tubbs.
10.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Partridge. Is that your client?
Yes, Mr. Tubbs is my client, Your Honor.
All right, sir. This is Shannon Tubbs, accused of battery, family violence, and criminal trespass from August 1st of this year. Accusation number is 24CR8196E. Mr. Tubbs, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. Duante Partridge. And I've noticed that he's got on his 20th arrest cycle. Anything else to add?
Drug possession, forgery.
And this was in 2021?
Last arrest was 2021, probation.
Okay. Miss Allen, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that happened in August. So the defendant was picked up on a warrant after that had been issued previously. A police report was made at about 2 a.m. in the morning at 789 Hammond Drive. The victim in this case, Star Murray, Starr, lives in an apartment there of 1201. She reports that she and the defendant had been in a relationship previously, and he lives in a nearby apartment there, 326. She came home early in the morning, 2 in the morning, and entered her home. The defendant was in her residence in her bed. He had a key to the residence and had not, I guess, given it back to her. She was described in the police documentation as distressed. When police spoke with her, she had visible injuries, scratches on her chest and her face. She said the defendant argued with her when she confronted him about why he was in her bed. He grabbed her phone and threw it. She was not able to find it after he slapped her and pushed her, causing these marks on her chest. She fled the location and went to the lobby where she called 911 because she didn't have her phone. Police went to 326, the apartment where the defendant lives, and knocked on the door. He didn't answer, but eventually spoke to them through the Ring camera, asked who they were there to see. When they informed him what they were there for, he said, "You've got the wrong address," and then refused to respond to any questioning. The defendant has a significant history, although he somehow managed to get first offender convictions on 2 cases from 2 different years, have violations of probation on those cases, and still somehow keep his first offender intact. He's been arrested for robbery and did diversion in 2006, robbery in 2003, battery 2 different times, concealed weapons. He's got 4 DUI convictions, Your Honor. We tried to call the victim this morning, Mrs. Murray. We haven't been successful yet, but we'll continue those efforts. We're asking for a $3,000 surety, absolutely no contact with Ms. Murray. Stay away from wherever she may live at this point, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Partridge?
Yes, thank you. I just want to be clear that that was a 30,000 recommendation, Ms. Allen?
No, sir, 3. This is misdemeanor court.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Partridge,
Judge,
too familiar in Superior Court. He deals with big numbers, so.
Judge, I have PTSD from Superior Court, so I apologize.
Sir?
Judge, Mr. Tubbs is before the court on an allegation that is completely false. We have a plethora of information and evidence that we have to get over to the state once this case gets going, and we will do so. This is a situation whereby my client had no idea that this warrant was outstanding against him. The victim actually, well, let me back up a little bit. After the incident, alleged incident or disagreement that they had back in August, the victim would come over to my client's house and knock for minutes. I mean, we have several videos on his Ring camera where she's just knocking at his door and bothering him on multiple occasions, Judge. And in addition to that, left and relocated from that apartment complex and moved into a house. She somehow have stalked him to find his new address and location and came to his house a couple of days ago and bursted out his windows of his car and damaged property, Judge, and bursted out a friend of his windows at the property as well, Judge. So this young lady is causing a lot of issues, but nonetheless, we will get there when we get there, Judge. But my client is residence here in he's in another county now. I don't want to disclose that via Zoom, but he's in another county, but he is in Georgia in the metro area, Judge. He's not a flight risk whatsoever. He does have a past, Your Honor. However, my client now has turned his life around. He's a business owner and an entrepreneur, as well as a DJ, and he's doing a lot to get his life back on track, Judge. And we're asking the court to set a reasonable bond as it relates to him this afternoon.
Okay. On the battery family violence is 2,000. On the criminal trespass is 500. That's a 2,500 surety bond. Next court date is going to be January 2nd, 2025. Unless he makes bond, then he would need to make sure that we have his current address. Then we'll send him summons from his. So he doesn't live at the Hammond Drive anymore?
No, Your Honor. He actually had to relocate from there to separate from this young lady.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's no longer there.
All right. Once he makes
For clarification, I'm sorry. That young lady's never been arrested here. I don't have any outstanding cases against her. There's been no TPOs. So do we have any police reports as it relates to these?
That y'all can discuss after during your prelims. But
I mean, I think it's important to maybe just point that out since the facts were gone into to that degree and a defense was raised as part of the argument, and we don't have any evidence of that whatsoever.
Understood. Miss Allen, I have let you go through a long narrative pursuant to the warrant and alleged facts, and I'm going to let Mr. Partridge do so. I'm not here to make sure which facts are true or untrue. I'm just here to determine a bond, and the bond's going to be a 2,500 surety bond, no further contact with Miss Murray, to stay away from the entire complex at 789 Hammond Drive in Atlanta, Georgia, no illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons, and his next court date is January 2nd. Upon being released on bond, he is required to update his current address in writing with the clerk's office and make sure that he comes back to court when summoned. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Partridge. Thank you, Ms. Allen. Next case, please.
Next, we can go to position number 3, Mr. Clems.
Number 3. Okay. This is State versus Cedric Clems, accused of 2 counts of forgery in the 4th degree from January 6, 2024. Mr. Clems, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Pinto. And I understand this is Mr. Clems' 6th arrest cycle. He had a 2020 battery BB case. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
This is Clems.
Yeah, CLMS.
He got 18 total on probation out of Carroll County for possession of meth.
Oh, I'm sorry, 18 cycles. Okay.
2023 probation, FTA. He got a lot of probations and FTAs in his history. 2016 theft by taking, theft by deception conviction.
All right, Mr. Mokeke?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant is charged with forgery for two separate incidents that occurred at the Bates Rates Caching located at 4881 Old National Highway in College Park. The first incident occurred on January 6th of 2024, where the defendant successfully cashed a fraudulent check from Purple Ocean Water LLC in the amount of $1,327. The second incident occurred on January 8th, 2024. The defendant on that day attempted to cash another fraudulent check from the Purple Ocean Water Company in the amount of $932. However, an employee at the location became suspicious and called Purple Water, where it was confirmed that both of the checks were fraudulent. The defendant was at one point an employee of the Purple Water LLC and had altered the payroll checks that he received. An employee of Purple Ocean Water emailed the authorities copies of the original check that were issued to the defendant for that pay period, and it did appear as though those original checks had been altered from their format. On the day of the January 8th incident, the defendant did leave behind the fraudulent altered check and also his identification card. Given his numerous FTAs and probation violations and 19 arrest cycles, there is a concern that he will reoffend, and we believe that he is not a good candidate for a signature bond. So we are requesting a $2,000 surety, one on each count of forgery. Stay away from the Bates Rates Caching, which is the incident location. Also stay away from the Purple Ocean Water LLC. I am assuming that he is no longer working there. If he is working there, then I guess he can go back. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Ms. Pinto?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Clems is 27 years old. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He has one 7-year-old child and then twins on the way. They're due in March. He went through the 11th grade. He has a job working as a cook for Wingstop. He's been there for 4 months. So he does have strong ties to the community. I understand that there's, some previous FTAs, but it looks like only one was in the past 2 years. And it sounds like his last, or I'm sorry, I take that back. The previous FTA was only in the last 2 years. I would ask the court to reduce the bond from the current $5,000, which he cannot afford. I would ask for $500 on each count.
All right, thank you. On each count is $750. His total bond is $1,500. It is a surety bond. To stay away from the Bates Rates Caching centers or stores, all of them, and also to stay away from Purple. I can't figure out what that means, but Purple Ocean Water LLC. If he's still employed, he can return to that location. But but based on what you're telling me, Ms. Pinto, apparently he's not employed there anymore, so he needs to stay away from that particular office location. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. His next court date is going to be January 2nd. If he if he makes bond before that date, then make sure that he provides us with his complete current mailing address, and we will mail out his next court date. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Next, we can go to position number 5, Mr. Gresham.
This is State versus Anthony Gresham, accused of battery of a particular nature from December 16th, 2024. Mr. Gresham, has your attorney shared the charge with you? Ms. Pinto, have you shared the charge with him?
Yes, we discussed the charge.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gresham, you've been advised of the charge, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Louisa Pinto. This is from a December 16, 2024 incident, case number 24CR8186G. Understand Mr. Gresham has 18 cycles, and he was recently arrested on December 7th of this year. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
2012 ag assault armed robbery conviction, on probation for armed robbery, and on probation possession of cocaine with intent. That's all.
Ms. Mulcahy?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at, I believe this is the Sandy Springs MARTA Station, 1122 Perimeter Center West in Sandy Springs. The victim in this case is Monica Apadeza. The victim was coming out of the elevator as the defendant was standing at the end, waiting for her to walk off. As she walked past him after she asked him to move, he touched her inappropriately. She told him not to touch her and stay away, and he tried coming at her again, but thankfully there were two MARTA employees there who intervened. Our office has had a chance to speak with Ms. Apadaza, I believe. She states she doesn't know the defendant, has never seen or spoken to him prior to this incident, confirmed the events in the warrant. She, of course, wants no contact and wants him to stay away from the MARTA station. The state's recommendation, given the concerning allegations made in this case and the defendant's history, is a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, stay away from all MARTA locations, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I will ask the court to sound for the victim at this time.
Miss Monica Apadaza or Apadaza. I don't see anyone with that name up there. Okay. Miss Pinto?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Gresham is 40 years old. He has a good address in Lithia Springs, Georgia. He's lived in the Atlanta area his entire life. He has one daughter, 26 years old. He's currently pursuing his bachelor's degree at the University of Phoenix, studying business science. He has about 1.5 years left until graduation. He also does some nonprofit work with the homeless, providing food and shelter. Given his ties to the community, I understand he does have a history, Judge, but he is working to, improve his life by studying and giving back to the community. I would ask the court to reduce the bond from the $5,000 that it is currently to $1,000. He is indigent. He receives food stamps. There's not much that he can afford.
Mr. Howard, what was the last arrest on December 7th, 2024? I see a theft by shoplifting. Was that in a municipality?
I'm not sure. I didn't make a note of it. Hold on.
Do you have it on your GCIC, Ms. Mulcahy? I've got a December 7th arrest, so I'm just curious to know what that was.
I'm looking at that right now, Your Honor. It was Dunwoody Police Department.
Okay, all right, thank you. On the battery charge, it's going to be a 2,500 surety bond to have no contact with Monica Apadosha and to stay away from all MARTA property. His next court date is going to be January 2nd at 9 a.m. If he makes bond, he will need to maintain a current mailing address with the courts. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 9, Mr. Simmons.
This is State versus Robert Lee Simmons, accused of criminal trespass from December 17th of this year. Accusation 24 CR 8199B. Mr. Simmons, you have been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be either Ms. Pinto or Mr. McLean. All right, Mr. McLean. I see that he's got 4 arrest cycles. What was the situation in 2024, Mr. Howard?
Trespass NOLO. 1 trespass appears to be open. And 2021 entering auto theft by taking first offender.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, this is an incident from yesterday, the 17th of December at about 5 p.m. The defendant was encountered by MARTA police inside an emergency exit stairwell on the property at the Ashby MARTA station. That's 85 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard. He'd been previously banned from the location actually twice, but the first one was in October the 27th of 2024. He was taken into custody. We're asking for $1,000 surety, stay away from MARTA, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, and we'd ask for a social worker visit.
Okay. Mr. McLean?
My client Simmons is 25. He graduated from high school over in Collins Hill neighborhood. I believe that's in the middle or south part of Gwinnett County.
Mhm.
He is residentially challenged. He has worked at First Step. I don't know if Your Honor is familiar with First Step. It's a program that is helpful for people who are residentially challenged. He has worked through First Steps auspices, and before that he worked as a cook in a restaurant called Taste of Soul, and tells me that he's a very good chef. He's fallen upon hard times. He does need social worker advice. We'd ask the court to consider a signature bond. He's quite sharp and lucid and can keep up with his court dates and pay attention to what the social worker advises him.
He's got another open criminal trespass case, doesn't he?
He does.
All right. His bond's going to be set at $1,000. It's just a surety bond. Stay away from all MARTA property, including the Ashby MARTA station. Next court date is January 2nd. Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 7, Mr. Hood.
What is it?
Intake.
Michael Hood is accused of battery from May 28, 2024, and the accusation is 24 CR 82008. Mr. Hood, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. I understand this is Mr. Hood's 17th arrest cycle. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
17 on probation for ag assault out of DeKalb County, 2018 FTA, 2013 battery DV, 07 violation of family violence order conviction.
It's 07. Okay, thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from May of this year. There's been a warrant out since it occurred. The location is 2020 Lee Street Southwest. It's actually on a bus, a MARTA bus 1183. At about 9:50 p.m., the victim made a report to police that she'd been struck repeatedly by the defendant while on the bus. We've spoken to her today. She told the police that she'd been in a relationship with the defendant previously. She was seen to have swelling to the right side of her face. CCTV footage was obtained. It shows the victim get on bus 1183, and 1 minute later, the defendant gets on the bus, and as he's walking by her, he reaches his arm out and repeatedly with his fist tries to strike her, eventually making contact with the right side of her face. He then sits down for a moment and exits the bus. We spoke to Mrs. Bell. Her first name is Suntania, Suntania. She's on the Zoom, Your Honor. She said that they don't have any children and then they've never lived together. So technically this is not domestic violence, which is good for the defendant since he's got a prior conviction for battery family violence, among other things. She's asking for no contact. She confirmed the information in the warrant, and she said she's not clear why he assaulted her. They had just gone out to dinner. We're asking for a $2,000 surety, no contact with Mrs. Bell, to stay away from wherever she may live, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. He's got a simple battery conviction against a woman named Miss Vaughn, an aggravated assault and an aggravated stalking conviction against Amanda McClure, a battery family violence conviction against Amanda McClure, and a battery case from 2013 against Victoria Smith that was dismissed when she was not in court in preparation for trial. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. McLean, before I address you, Miss Bell, Santania Bell, did you want to address the court? All right, please unmute.
No, ma'am.
No? All right, let's go ahead and mute your screen then. Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Michael Hood, I believe his name is misspelled on the calendar. He has the 99% spelling of Michael, A-E-L, not E-A-L.
Okay.
Very, very few parents make that mistake. So there are a lot of us Michaels. He's 45 years old. He lives in Decatur. He's worked for 10 years for Skyline Forming, which is a concrete forming company. So they are involved in construction and they pour concrete into forms for it to harden. He has an 11th grade education. Nothing further, Your Honor. He'd asked the court to consider as low a bond as possible. Under the circumstances, he was asking the bond to even consider a signature bond if that is possible. Given that it was from last May, that would be one factor. However, we understand what the state has said about his record. Thank you.
Our bond is set at $1,000. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Santania Bell. He's to stay away from wherever she lives, wherever she works, or wherever she's physically located. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. And he's to stay away from MARTA in accordance with any active suspension. Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 6, Mr. Hall.
His next court date is January 2nd, by the way.
Hall, come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
You come on.
You sit right here.
Nah.
Just wait for everything.
This is State versus Jaccory, Jaccory, last name Hall, accused of criminal trespass. His accusation number is 24 CR 8201H. This is December 17th, 2024 incident. This appears to be Mr. Hall's first arrest. Ms. Allen, any recommendation?
Your Honor, we're asking for $1,000 SOB through pretrial to stay away from the location. That's 631 Cherry Street Northwest. That's the Savant Building at Georgia Tech. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we'd ask for a social worker visit. Police were called twice on the 17th yesterday. The first time at about 10 minutes after 9 in the morning to the Savant Building. They spoke to staff there who reported that this gentleman was at the location sitting in the conference room. This is a business building and a building where kids attend classes. Police spoke to him. He reported that he was there waiting for Eugene. He said he was just released from Emory the day before. He told police he was looking for the monument of the unknown soldier. That's in DC. He then began to make some incoherent statements that were concerning to officers. He had reportedly to the staff there in the location asking them about someone who owes him money and doing things like taking business cards off of people's desks and again making nonsensical statements. There was a concern about MH. Officer Smith gave a criminal trespass warning to the defendant, and then at 10:27 he returned to the location and came inside asking for water. He spoke to the same staff members who reminded him he'd just been told he should leave and not return. He asked if he could exit out of a different doorway. He was told no. Police made contact with him, and the people at the location were visibly shaken. I would note he's got an address in the booking documents of somewhere in Lithonia. It doesn't appear that this individual is homeless and has no criminal history, but there are some concerns.
Mr. McLean?
That's my case, Judge.
Oh, Ms. Pinto.
We echo the state's request for a signature bond for Mr. Hall. He does have a good address. His whole family's here in Atlanta. He did attend some college studying nursing, but he does not work right now. He receives Social Security, and there have been some health issues. So we would ask that he receive the signature bond and be able to get out.
Who are his family? With whom does he live?
Who do you live with, Mr. Hall? I have a phone number for his mother. I'm not sure if they live together though.
My mother and my grandmother, my sister, my niece.
My brother,
I need a name to whom he can be released to.
Eunice Hall,
Can you spell that, Mr. Hall?
EUNICE HALL.
Is that your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Eunice Hall, Judge.
All right.
HALL.
All right, Mr. Hall, please understand that I'm going to give you a signature bond, but you're to be released to her custody. So she needs to come to the jail and make sure that you are present so that you can be released to her. And that's the only way I'm getting you released. Your bond is going to be set at 2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial level 1. And which means you'll be signing up for your bond and you'll need to report to pretrial once a month. You're to stay away not only from the Savant building, but you're to stay away from all Georgia Tech property. So any building that belongs to the Institute of Georgia Technology, Institute of Technology of Georgia, you're not allowed to be on that property. This will be a release bond to Eunice Hall, the mother of the defendant. And within 30 days of being released, Mr. Hall is to undergo an MH evaluation and submit himself to any treatment that's required. And he must be compliant with all medication and treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. And Mr. Hall, I'll give your mother a call so she knows.
Okay.
We can do position number 8. Mr. Quinones.
What?
Position 8. Quinones. Who was it?
I believe Mr. Quinones authorized, I believe, wasn't he the fellow that had 1130 matter as well?
Yeah, he got no bond.
Right. He's a waiver of presence, Your Honor.
All right. And would you be able to submit that waiver by this?
Yes, Your Honor. I was just grabbing the blank form from next to my desk to fill that out.
All right. Is there anybody else in the courtroom that needs to be addressed in courtroom 2?
Your
For Union City.
All right. Sergeant Searles at South Annex. Good afternoon.
Come on, sir. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon. Who do we have at South Annex?
I have Mr. Creasy.
Okay.
You have a seat. There you go, sir.
This is position 1, 2, when?
On the add-on.
Oh, just the add-on. Okay, got it. This is the additional case added to our calendar today. This is State versus Nathaniel Creasy, case number 24 CR 8202F. Mr. Creasy has been accused of 2 counts of battery family violence from August 31st, 2024. Mr. Creasy, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say during this virtual proceeding, anything that you say about the facts of your case, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. And currently, your appointed counsel is going to be Mr. Michael McLean. Mr. McLean, is that your client?
Judge, Mr. Creasy is a conflict for our office, so I'm not sure who represents him.
Well, no one right now, but I'm going to appoint Miss Maureen McLeod. Unless she conflicts out, we will notify her that Mr. Nathaniel Creasy will be representing her. Mr. Creasy, presently the Public Defender's Office is legally not allowed to represent you, perhaps due to a prior conflict. So I will have to appoint another attorney to represent you. Presently, I'm going to appoint Maureen McLeod. She is not present, but we will proceed with first appearance and then she will address all future proceedings with you. I understand Mr. This is his first arrest and he's 17 years old. Okay, Miss Mokeki?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have that the incident location is 1099 Shadow Glen Drive in Fairborn. There is a co-defendant in this case, that is Jalen Creasy, who is the defendant's brother. He did appear on SCA back on November 1st. He was given a $3,000 surety bond, stay away from the incident location, and no further contact with the victims. The victims in this case are a minor with the initials BH and a Miss Zakiria Hood. These individuals are the defendant's step siblings. The defendant and his brother are accused of beating up BH for no apparent reason while BH was sitting in his room watching TikTok videos. BH did have bruises on his body. The brothers then went to the bathroom where Miss Zakiria Hood was present, and the brothers proceeded to jump her. They repeatedly punched her, and she states in the warrant that she tried to fight back, but Jalen held her down while Nathaniel struck her. Zakiria also sustained bruising and swelling to her body. Our office has had a chance to speak with Zakiria both on Jalen's SCA hearing, and also we spoke with her today. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that since this incident, she has left the residence and now lives in her own apartment. She stated that her brother, the minor with the initials BH, was very upset about what took place, and he does want to proceed with this case. At the time of Jalen's SCA hearing on November 1st, it was confirmed that both of the brothers were kicked out of the residence. And Zakiria told us that this was not the first time that Jalen and the defendant had been violent towards her brother. The state's recommendation, given the fact that this is the defendant's first arrest, will be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with BH or Zakiria Hood. Stay away from that incident location. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Right, and what was the name of the the co-defendant?
Jalen Creasy,
Okay.
Jaylen, and I can give you his case number if you would like.
All right, while we're waiting on the case number.
Oh, yeah, I have it, sorry. 24 CR 007432E.
All right, and do you know how old is Jalen Creasy?
I can find out. 1 minute. He is 18.
What?
I believe the reason he got a $3,000 surety bond is because he also had open felony cases.
Okay. All right, Mr. Nathaniel Creasy, as I said, you would need another attorney, not from the public defender's office, because now the public defender's office is representing Jalen Creasy. So I'm going to appoint a conflict counsel to represent you. That will be Maureen McLeod. Okay, on battery count 1 is going to be 1,500. On count 2 is going to be 1,500. That's going to be a 3,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 2. You will need to report to pretrial services twice a month. You are to have no further contact with BH and with Zakiria Hood. You're also to stay away from 1099 Shadow Glen Drive in Fairburn, Georgia. Before you're released on your bond, we'll need an adult relative cosigner. I believe your mother is Brandy. I'm not sure what her last name is. Am I correct?
So Brandy Creasy is his stepmother.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know whether she'll co-sign it, but you'll need an adult relative to co-sign your bond. And if there's none available, then, and the adult relative must be minimum 21 years of age, so 21 or older. And if one is not available, then your next court date will be January 2nd, 2025. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And we'll see you either on January 2nd or your next court date. Within 30 days of posting bond, you are to provide us with a new mailing address because it can't be 1099, Shadow Glen Drive, since you're not allowed at that property. You can return to that property one time only with a police officer to retrieve your belongings and then move to a different location. Thank you.
What was that level?
Level 2.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we'll go to the waiver case. By the way, what happened to position 2, Merrill Beavers?
Oh, that's, Your Honor, I talked to him in the MOU, which is the hallway back in the back of the jail that has the psychiatric observation.
I know what it is, yes.
And Your Honor, he was talking about sovereign citizenship and admiralty and maritime law and Sharia law and all kinds of things in a word salad. So I looked at his record, Your Honor, and I think today he's not suitable for court due to behavior.
Okay.
He suitable for mixing in with the rest of the inmates that are in the clients of ours that would be in the jail courtroom number 2. However,
I'll be glad to see him. Well, right now I'm going to reset him to December 19th, tomorrow at 2 p.m. and Judge Morrow will be there. Otherwise, if he's still not ready to engage, then I'll see him on the 20th.
We'll try again. I noticed from looking at the record that he's taken several pleas, so I don't know that competency would be an issue. I think maybe you can, if he's suitable for being in the same room with everybody, I think that might work. He may well be pro se, Your Honor. I haven't looked up yet to see if all his previous pleas were taken pro se or not.
We wait with bated breath to see what happens tomorrow. To be continued. Tomorrow, December 19th at 2 p.m. Position number 1, Baker, is reset to January 2nd with a $1,000 surety. Position 3, Clems, is a $1,500 surety, reset to January 2nd. Position 4, Brandon Cox, is Norcross. Position 5, Gresham, is a $2,500 surety, reset to January 2nd. Position 6, Hall, is a 2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 1, for the notice. Position 7, Michael Hood. Michael, also spelled as Michael, is a $1,000 surety, reset to January 2nd. Position 8, we're going to get back to him. Position 9, Simmons, is a $1,000 surety, reset to January 2nd. Tubbs, position 10, is a 2,500 surety, reset to January 2nd. And the add-on is a $3,000 signature bond for pretrial, level 2, with an adult relative cosigner, age 21 or above. Otherwise, it's reset to January 2nd, pending a release. With regards to Jonah Quiones, I see that this is his 24th arrest cycle. He has multiple open pending cases, including DUI, as well as a state court case, 20 CR 733A. Another case pending in DeKalb County for giving a false name. I'm just reading off the notes submitted by pretrial.
I think one thing that's confusing too is I noticed he had a theft by taking that said 1024, and today is a theft by taking that is said to be 1026. And when I looked at the affidavit for arrest, it was a range of time in the affidavit in which the officer had said, to the best of their knowledge or belief, goods were missing from a mailroom of an apartment complex.
I can help you figure that out.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. On the 26th, police were called to the mailroom at an apartment complex at 565 Hank Aaron Drive Southeast. Victim there, Sumner Mency, M-E-N-C-Y, reported that she was supposed to have received a package on October the 24th and it never came. She confirmed with the sender of the package that it had been delivered. And then she was able to access, through the help of the apartment complex, surveillance footage of the mailroom. And it shows the defendant in the mailroom on the 26th of October, searching through the boxes, eventually picking the box that belongs to this victim and leaving the location with it. At one point on the surveillance footage, the defendant looked directly into the camera and you can see his face. Face recognition software was used through multiple social media outlets to identify photographs that matched him. His driver's license was obtained, and he matched the person on surveillance. Inside the box that he took on the 26th of October was a pair of shoes valued at about $98.01. He does have an open dormant bench warrant DUI from 2018 in 20 CR 0007338, as well as an open battery family violence from February of this year against victim Dexter Davis. He's currently out on a $2,000 good bond issued by Judge Mincy in February. Since that arrest, he's been arrested for a financial transaction card theft and entering auto into cab, a probation violation, as well as a shoplifting and felony drug charge. That's on, no, shoplifting and felony drug charge is also a case he was arrested for, but he was on felony first appearance today because of an outstanding warrant that was from October the 1st. And that is a financial transaction card fraud as well, 24 PI 009189. So he was busy in October and November. We're asking for a $2,000 surety and to stay away from the location there at the apartment complex. Again, that's 565 Hank Aaron Drive, Southeast. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor. Knowing that he had the other matter, he went ahead and he waived his appearance for today's bond hearing for misdemeanor court and asked the court to set a fair bond for him as low as possible. But I should tell the court he is self-employed for the last 3 years as a makeup artist. He also does DoorDash. He's a 2013 graduate of high school. And he has a Kirkland Road or Avenue address in Douglasville, Georgia. Thank you.
The concern I have for Mr. Kionis is that it's 24 arrest cycles. He's 30 years old, but most of his alleged criminal activity appears to be concentrated in the last 2 or 3 years. His bond is going to be set at $1,500. It's going to be a cash bond only. And he's to stay away from 565 Hank Aaron Drive in Atlanta, Georgia, and no contact with Summer, I think it's Mency. He can return to his apartment unit if he lives at that complex, one time only to retrieve his belongings. But after that, he's to stay away from that entire apartment complex and to update the court with his new mailing address within 30 days of being released. His next court date is going to be January 2nd.
And Your Honor, the victim's name is Summer, last name Mency, M-E-N-C-Y.
Summer Mency. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that concludes our calendar. Anything else until tomorrow? No?
Yes, Judge, I got a question for you. This is Ms. Lewis. How you doing?
Yes. Hello, Miss Lewis. Hello.
I has a pleasure being with you tomorrow. Will you be present in the courtroom?
Oh, for SAP?
Yes.
Yes, I will be there in person. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I was about to send Mr. Jordan an email, but could you relay that information?
I sure will.
Okay, yeah, in person. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, everyone, you all have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you on Friday. Well, some of you.
Hey, what happened with number 2?
Number.
Beavers.
He's a reset because he has some behavioral issues.
Okay, cool.